have an entrepreneurial family. My 4 older brothers all have their own businesses and have been very successful.
Yeah.
None of them actually went to college. They just kind of went to the school of hard knocks, right?
Oh, wow.
And just kind of born in them. They were hustlers and want to make a buck. They were raised by a single mom as well, so it was hard to come by cash in some ways, and so they found ways to solve that problem.
Yeah.
I felt a little differently. I felt inspired and felt that education was an important part of my life. It really resonated with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I had that little entrepreneurial spirit. I started working when I was a young kid. My first job officially was at the pizza factory when I was 16 years old. But before that, I washed dishes and shined shoes and mowed lawns and did everything that everyone does, right? Just trying to get out there and hustle. And Bill Randall, the owner of the pizza factory, is just a really great friend and mentor. And he talked to me about, investing my money wisely and being a good business guy and, doing things that way. When I got home from my mission, I worked with some physical therapists for a while, some local guy. So like everybody, you're trying to decide where you're going to land.
Yeah.
Ben, you may or may not remember this, but when you graduated from school, I was working for a company called Squatty Potty, and we had an interview, and you thought that was the job really that was for you. And then all of a sudden we learned that, that fit wasn't exactly what it should be, but thank heavens it wasn't, right? Because where you've gone and what you've accomplished since. So that's the same kind of experience I had, right? Just trying to, when you're in school, trying to navigate your way through life as a young married, you're trying to decide where does it all fit. So those were the kind of business things I did. Nothing spectacular other than some great business classes that I loved, some business opportunities here and there. But when we transferred to Brigham Young University, in order to make my way or pay my way through school, I worked at a little place called the MTC, the Missionary Training Center, and that's when I got bit by the teaching bug, and I got bit hard. It's really in my DNA. When all's said and done, I feel like teaching is a gift that I have, and I had to utilize that gift in some way. So during the early part of my career, I taught full-time, and then like every teacher, right? You got to find a side hustle. You got to find a side gig in order to kind of keep paying bills and doing the things you did. So nights and weekends and summers, I found other ways to kind of do business on the side and keep scratching that itch too.
Yeah, I heard on the Follow Hidden podcast this morning, they said one of the professors pulled the guest speaker aside and said, I don't say this to everybody because you kind of have to swear your life to poverty, but I think you should get into education. He was just joking around about it, but he's a BYU professor now and everything. But he said the same thing. It's just there's something about it. He loves it so much, and he couldn't see himself doing anything else, at least for him in that point. But it's such an important thing. I mean, being educators and teaching is extremely valuable, and we unfortunately we don't put enough on that, as we should.
In our society, we certainly don't, right? Yeah. Our society, we determine worth by how much of a paycheck someone's going to get.
Yeah.
And teachers don't get enough pay. There's no question in my mind. However, those who do it, including myself, really feel inspired and moved to do it. We're passionate about it. I gave my heart and soul to teaching in every way. And even after I kind of flipped my life on its head and went to business full-time, I still taught part-time. I mean, for the last 7 years, I've taught an adult religion class every Thursday night, religiously.
At the chapel, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I'm not giving up teaching anytime soon till I die. And whenever I teach, however I teach, I try and give it my very best, as thoughtful as I can, as prepared as I can, and as engaging as I can. That's something that's important to me. But I first kind of captured the teaching spirit, at the MTC. I had never had a chance to teach before that, other than as a full-time missionary for our church. And you have a chance to, be in people's homes and teach and, do that kind of a thing. But in terms of professionally and preparing lessons and, thinking about your students in advance and being in a real classroom, that experience happened for me at the MTC. And then like everybody, I went through the training to see if I could officially get hired and made it through.
Yeah. Well, and just to tell you a little bit about Callan's family, I'm really close with his entire family. So his brother-in-law and his brother, they're both in the seminary field, right? So I think that was one thing about when I said, hey, we should have Dennis on. Callan's like, yes, I want to hear about every part of that story, because I have two people I'm really close with that have the same path, the same trajectory, So I think it's a really cool career path, and I always admire anyone who chooses to do it, right?
Yeah, my brother, he just got hired on. It's his first semester. He's in Arizona. Yeah. My brother-in-law has been in Enterprise, been teaching for quite a few years actually now. Dalton, yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I know them both. Yeah, he's a pro. Dalton he's a great teacher.
He's an amazing human being.
Yeah.
And I really look up to him a lot. I mean, he had a huge impact on me in my life growing up, because he was such a good example. And he was, obviously 10 times the athlete I'll ever be, but because he was such a good athlete and he was a good person and had good standards, and he lived what he believed, that's what impressed me, and helped me the most, because I'm like, yeah, I want to be like that. I want to be, he kind of made doing the right thing the cool thing in my mind, because I looked up to him. But yeah, I mean, I relate a lot to giving like your heart and soul into something. And that's why it came to my mind so much, and asking you about this, because I worked for my dad's when I got home from my mission, and gave my heart and soul into it. And it was one of the hardest things in the world that I've ever done, hardest decisions I've ever made. And one of the most emotional things I've ever had to go through is leaving my dad's company to go and gain some experience some other places. I wanted to learn, and I wanted to grow and expand and try to, try to evolve our own little family unit and kind of do our own little thing for a while. But it was really hard. And I think I can only imagine, having been in seminary and teaching that, what it would be like to leave that. And was it hard for you? Like that decision? I'm sure it didn't come easy, but maybe if you want, you don't have to tell about that experience of making that transition. Because for me, I felt like with my dad's company, it was serving kind of a higher thing. Like I was, in a way, like I felt like that's where I needed to be. And
there's a lot of intrinsic value working for the church or working for your family. And, you could feel a little bit of, I don't want to say guilt, but I can't think of a better word for leaving something like that.
Yeah. Like, did you feel that way, feeling guilty for leaving working for the church, or anything like that? Because I feel like I think I'd have a really hard time, because I'd almost start in my mind, I'd start feeling like I'm selfish. Am I selling out? Am I doing this for money? But it's like, well, is it okay to want to do things to make more money? Like, is that okay to want to maybe create something a little different for my life or my family's life, or to have more time off or more vacation or whatever it is, or better insurance, or I don't know. There's a lot of things that go into my mind, but anyways.
Everything you're talking about, you sound like you've gone through a lot of the wrestle that I felt, right?
Well, that's why I'm like,
yeah, no, that's really cool. I had that similar types of wrestle. I will tell you, I see it a little differently in some ways. One, teaching is a noble profession, and everyone ought to become skilled teachers, right? There's this old argument, nature versus nurture, right? You're born a teacher or you made a teacher. You're born a great athlete and made a great athlete. And I think it's some of both always, but those who are gifted teachers and who feel called and inspired to go, not just trying to find a way. There's people who probably just try and earn a buck by doing teaching, right? That was not my experience. It's not the experience of others that I know who are gifted teachers, but we really felt like we need to make a difference in youth's lives. So there is always the pull if you decide to change professions. There is some intrinsic value in teaching. But for me, I see it a little different. I believe we're here on earth for whatever time we're all given, and that we are to become as good of instruments and have as much in our tool bag, so to speak, as possible. Anything I have, I can share. Anything I don't have an ability to give or to lift other people in any way. So for me, I've always wanted to have as many skills and as many opportunities and see as much and develop as much personally as I ever could.